Welcome to Planning a Community Meeting, Part 2, where you will learn to decide which stakeholders to include in your meeting, select a convenient location and time, and promote your meeting to get maximum participation. To do this, you'll first need to identify the purpose of your meeting and create an agenda, topics that were covered in Part 1. You can't achieve your intended meeting outcome without the right people to help with planning and running the meeting, and of course, a variety of attendees who will contribute their ideas and participation. The most obvious people to include are those who are connected to the issues that the meeting will address. Some community members can serve as cultural representatives, offering perspectives that may be shared by many. Others to invite are those who are potentially affected by the decisions or outcomes of the meeting. Another type of individual is someone who can speak in favor of a particular position, proponents or champions of an idea, proposal, or cause. Include the other side too, people who can challenge, test, or question an idea or proposal. Challengers can help ensure diverse perspectives are represented. Another group to consider inviting are decision makers. These could be elected officials, board members, or leaders within your organization. These are the people who can approve or deny a proposal, or are the ones needed to make something happen. Finally, depending on the type of information to be covered, you might include a subject matter expert. This could be an expert in the traditional sense, like a researcher, or a locally respected individual with extensive knowledge about the community. Either can provide useful data or context on an issue. In addition to the meeting participants, consider including an experienced facilitator who can move the group toward your meeting outcomes while remaining neutral. You might need a facilitator for meetings where the stakes are high, or for those where you expect diverging points of view that may need to be reconciled. Depending on who your participants are, include interpreters, whether for spoken languages or sign language. If participants are likely to have small children, considering offering childcare in a room close to the meeting, and arrange a childcare provider. Finally, there are a variety of roles that can be filled by colleagues or partners, depending on the size of the meeting, the agenda, and the participants. These include people to do the pre-meeting setup and registration, as well as roles during the meeting itself, like timekeeper, scribe, or table leader. Identify the help you'll need and line up people in advance. Determine when and where to hold your meeting. It at first may seem simple, but before you go too far, let's look at some considerations for picking the time and place. When deciding your meeting's location, put yourself in the shoes of the participants and consider things from their perspective. How far is the site from where they live or work? How convenient is it, and will most of your invitees be familiar? Can you get there without a car? Next, pick a neutral location. If you're holding a meeting about immigrant issues, for example, a police station would not be seen as neutral. And finally, is the area safe? Would your participants feel comfortable coming and going from the meeting? When selecting a venue, the first consideration is size. Choose a space that's big enough to hold your expected audience, but not so big that your meeting looks poorly attended. Your agenda will help you determine the features you will need. Look for a space that offers the right layout, seating, furniture, and equipment. Will you need a separate area for breakouts or childcare? Most organizations won't have much of a budget for meeting space, so be creative in finding low-cost options. Free space can be found at places like libraries and community centers, but you often need to reserve them way in advance. Check with partner organizations too, to see if they have space that you can use. Of course, it's best to use a wheelchair-accessible site. If you use a venue that's not accessible, let people know up front. When choosing a date and time, again, take the perspective of your meeting participants. If you don't have a clear sense of when people are available, consider surveying them. Your meeting won't be the only thing going on in the community, so be sure to schedule around other events and holidays. And decide which would be easier, daytime or evening, weekend or weekday. Working individuals probably prefer an evening meeting, while seniors might prefer daytime. Parents with school-age children may have to schedule around after-school and weekend activities. With most community meetings, you won't know who your audience is until they respond to your invitation, so you may need to make some assumptions. So you may be wondering, how long will the meeting take? The length of your meeting, of course, will depend on what it is that you need to accomplish. Beyond that, you may have to balance how long you can keep people engaged against how hard it is to get them together in the first place. Can you run a series of meetings, or do you need to get it done in just one sitting? Finally, the time of day impacts the length. An evening meeting probably can't go much longer than 2 hours. Finally, let's look at inviting people and getting them to attend. Your invitation needs to explain the purpose of the meeting, what will happen, and what you expect to be achieved as a result. It should give a sense of who the meeting is for and any preparation. Of course, the location, date, and time are critical. To encourage attendance, include any benefits of the meeting, like helping to shape the future of the neighborhood, and mention any additional support, like childcare, interpreters, and refreshments. Also, be clear on whether participants need to RSVP and explain how to do it. Once you have this information, it's time to consider how to spread the word. Let's look at 3 approaches to outreach. First is direct outreach, communicating directly with people you already know. This can happen in lots of ways, but email and electronic invitations make it easy for invitees to respond and for you to keep track of who will attend. But sometimes mail or phone calls will be more effective. Concentric circle outreach starts with those you already know and enlists them to help get the word out. One example is a Tell a Friend campaign, where you ask individuals already associated with your group to invite others. A second is to ask partner organizations to spread the word through their networks. Finally, community groups that represent different constituencies can be an effective conduit to reach specific parts of the community. The third approach is broadcasting to a wide audience, sending your message far and wide to reach as many of your intended participants as possible. Broadcast methods include social media, online ads and event postings, and even old-school methods like posters, flyers, advertising in the local paper, or door hangers. You'll likely want to use more than one method, as no one approach will reach everyone. Along with this, try to match the outreach method to your intended audience, so you don't waste resources. Thank you for watching Part 2 of Planning a Community Meeting. We hope these videocasts help you get started planning your next community gathering. Thanks for watching, and thank you for serving.